Hey guys, this is Javan Joel. I am a full stack developer of CloudGunk. Today we're going to talk about what are the best front-end frameworks to choose from. A lot of you guys may be wondering this if you're breaking into the industry, or even some of you veterans who are looking to just be more productive with your code. You have famous things out there like React, Angular, and Bootstrap. These are frameworks that help you get started, that help you avoid doing a lot of that boilerplate, repetitive code you normally have to do when you're setting up new websites. And they're really good for one-off websites. If you're creating a website for a client, if maybe it's just a website where people are going to come visit, it doesn't really have to be maintained. These are great to get you set up. Not things that are not so complex. It really depends on the requirements. Which one do you choose from? Do you choose React? Do you choose Angular? A lot of these depend on your coding styles. The issue that I have with a lot of these technologies is when you start using them and going into deeper things, going into more complex scenarios, you start running into limitations as to what the frameworks can do. And sometimes to get around these limitations, you have to jump through hoops and barrels, and you end up becoming less productive and spending more time in doing these workarounds to the framework rather than just developing what you need to develop. So the other thing is that these frameworks have nuances to them. Not only do you have to learn the core JavaScript, CSS, HTML, you have to learn the framework. You have to learn the nuances to the framework, the little behaviors, the little gotchas that you have to understand. And that only comes with time and experience. I can tell you no documentation, nothing you read could show you what these nuances are. You have to get in there, you have to play with the technologies, you have to create actual working applications with them to really feel out the behaviors and the nuances for these technologies. The other con is that sometimes these technologies release breaking changes. A lot of Angular developers have felt this a lot when Angular switched from Angular 1 to Angular 2. They completely changed the way the framework worked. There was no way to upgrade from Angular 1 to Angular 2. You had to basically redo your applications if you wanted them to take advantage of the new Angular 2 framework. So you have that going on sometimes where you have these breaking changes, you have to redo a lot of the code, or you have to do these difficult upgrade paths and go through all of your code to use the benefits of the new versions of the framework. And they're not standard. I mean, if React is built by Facebook, and a lot of people expect that Facebook will be around forever. In the history of companies, this never happened. Nobody stays number one forever. And React will not be number one forever. There will come a time when another prettier framework will come out, and all your React knowledge will pretty much be worthless. So this is the biggest thing about it. When you're dealing with something that's not a standard, in other words, it wasn't established by a standard organization, browsers don't incorporate it into their core engine, then you run the risk of it being deprecated, of it going out of style. And you've basically put all this knowledge, all this time, all your effort, a lot of your career into learning these frameworks, where it just, that skill set goes to the wayside. So what do you do? Well, first of all, I could tell you from a job-seeking perspective that a lot of jobs do look for these specific frameworks. They do look for Angular, they do look for React. So from a perspective of seeking a new job or going on interviews, you should have some familiarity with these frameworks. You should see what's popular out there, what are people looking for, and at least I should learn some and get my hands dirty with some of these frameworks so that I could be able to answer the interview questions. However, having said that, I would suggest, and you won't hear this from a lot of full stack developers, but I'm unique in the sense where I would suggest you keep it simple. Stick to the standards. JavaScript, CSS, HTML. Learn that in and out as much as you can. Become an expert in that. There's so many things you could do with just those 3 things. There's so much flexibility you could and power to these 3 technologies together, and they're standardized. If you were able to master this and stick to just this and become an expert, you'll be leaps and bounds of any React or Angular developer. Again, I want to make it clear that these frameworks are very useful in sites that are one-off, they're not too complex. But if you're dealing with a more complex site, if you're dealing with something that's going to be maintained on a regular basis, I would highly suggest you stay away from some of these frameworks. Now, I want to make a clause here in that the DOM, the API for the DOM is horrendously bad. So I would at least recommend that you use something that helps you work with the DOM, something like a jQuery or a Backbone that makes working with the DOM a little easier. It abstracts some of these cross-browser issues when you work with the DOM. So keep it simple. I would suggest also you look into a technology called web components. Web components is something that we've been hearing for a couple of years now. Basically, you could create your own web components very easily right now using standard technologies like JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And basically, these are little components of code that you could port throughout different applications. And you don't even need to use a framework like React, Angular, or Bootstrap for that. To sum it up, if it's a simple site, if it's not too complex, would be nice using a framework. If you're going to look for a job in an interview, people are going to ask for things like Angular, like React. You want to have some familiarity with it so that you can work with these technologies when needed. Having said that, you want to stick to the core simple set of technologies. JavaScript, HTML, CSS, master that. And if you do master that, it should be easy for you to work with any of these frameworks. If you were working with me, as long as you know those 3 set of core things, it should take you a day to learn React. It should take you a day to learn Angular. You should be able to pick that up easily. And the only way that's going to happen is if you understand the technologies that these frameworks are built on. And those are the core set of technologies that I mentioned. So let me know what you guys think. I know a lot of you guys out there will disagree with me, and that's fine. I definitely like to hear what you have to say in the comments. However, I've been in this industry for 16 years and I'm sticking to my guns. Keep it simple and you will be successful.